everybody. My name is Sherry Harris. I'm one of the pastors at Vestavia Hills United Methodist Church, and I'm a part of our pastor's Bible study on the book of Acts. It's a wonderful opportunity to give us insights into the early spread of Christianity. Now today, you and I are going to be looking at Acts 17 and one of the most influential figures in our faith, Paul, the great apostle. Now, I got to be honest, I have always been fascinated by Paul. I mean, his faith journey is so compelling. He begins as Saul, the great persecutor of the early believers, but thanks to a vision of Jesus by the side of the road, Paul transforms into someone who many scholars believe is second only to Jesus in importance in our faith. Now, Paul was a Jew and a Roman citizen and highly educated for his day and time. His epistles or letters found in the New Testament continue to influence Christian thought and practices to a profound degree. So as our passage in Acts 17 opens, we find Paul and one of his traveling companions, Silas, moving from town to town, doing what they always do, proclaiming the gospel. Now, Paul's message is not always well received, and basically we find Paul being run out of not one but two towns. But today I want to focus on the third town. I want us to take a look at Paul's experience in Athens. Now, Athens was new territory for Paul. It was a university town. It was a great seat of learning. Sophisticated philosophers were there, and there was a lot of religious curiosity. Now, Paul's speech in Athens shows a wonderful model of how to effectively present the gospel to non-believers. Paul did not open by condemning their pagan ways. Rather, he adapts his approach to the Greek culture. Paul tells his audience that they are religious in every way and that he has carefully observed their objects of worship. See how he's kind of bringing them on board with him? The city is flooded with idols, but Paul zeroes in on an idol entitled that it is dedicated to an unknown God. Now this becomes his opening salvo in his speech on Mars Hill. Paul is doing what made him such a great evangelist. He looked for openings into the hearts of the people he tried to reach with his message of Christ. Now, there's a real spirit of welcome and hospitality in the way he communicated his message. He acknowledged who he was talking to. He granted them their own creative powers of thought and invention, and then he invited them to go further in their thinking with him. It was a brilliant approach. Now, it is critical to remember that Paul never watered down the gospel. The way he proclaimed it might vary, but the message itself, it always remained the same. So in his speech in Athens, Paul did what he always did. He became very bold. And he asserted that Christ crucified and resurrected is God's final answer to all forms of human longing. This was a dangerous strategy, and unfortunately only a few people were willing to listen to him in Athens. But that never stopped Paul. He continued to proclaim the gospel in every way, in every place possible. Now, Paul shows us that boldness should always be at the heart of Christian witness, not in the sense that we're going to beat people over the head with a Bible to convert them, but rather we will share our deep commitment to God, our belief that Jesus is the Christ, and our own experience of God's transforming love in our own personal lives. We must be honest and humble and authentic in our conversations, but we should also remember the words of St. Francis, who told us to preach the gospel daily and, when necessary, use words. So as you read and study Acts 17, here are some questions for you to consider. How can you become a more effective witness for Jesus Christ? Are you willing to be bold enough to use your own stories and your own experiences and your own actions to share what God has done for you? John Wesley, the founder of our denomination, believed that we must share our faith with others so that they will know the way that leads to life. Yet we offer Christ not only by sharing God's words, but also through the good works that we do in the world. Are you sharing Christ in exactly the same way? And if so, can you think of one or two examples? And then finally, what fresh ways can our church use to reach people? During this time of sheltering in place, we've been using social media, online worship, and there are other possibilities that we could use. When life gets back to normal, whatever that might look like, would you support these new methods, even if they don't speak into your own heart? Now, this is not a question, it's actually a homework assignment. Prepare an elevator speech, 5 minutes or less, that sums up your own personal witness. And then listen to the voice of the Spirit on when you should use it. Finally, I would encourage you for your prayer emphasis today to pray for confidence and to have loving and sensitive respect for others as you seek to become a better witness for Christ. But also pray for the Spirit to show you the opportunity which might be right in front of you, and then the courage to take it. Have a blessed day, and thanks for sharing this story of a remarkable man named Paul with me.